And I remember talking to a young person about a year or so ago, and that person expressed to me that they hated America, a young black girl. And I had to sit down and explain that, no, you don't hate America. You don't hate America because you are America. Okay? See, don't let folks manipulate your mind into believing and becoming what they want you to become. Okay? So what I'm suggesting is the people that are calling themselves patriots, look at them carefully. Because first of all, if you have to proclaim yourself to be a patriot, and people can't see it by communicating with you simply, you're probably not a patriot. Okay? And so black people in this nation have fought in every war this nation, even before this nation was a nation, has been about. Even when black folks were enslaved people, they still fought in the wars. That's what patriotism is. I don't even see folks being drafted as, like we have such... Look, first of all, my father and two brothers, Vietnam veterans. My father was in Vietnam in '65. I mean, so we're a military family. My immediate family has 100 years of service. Me, my 4 siblings, and my father, okay? So understand, I love America, okay? But what I want to suggest, and I don't believe I've heard any of my family ever say they were patriots, okay? My father served in World War II, served in Korea, volunteered, went to Vietnam, brothers too, Vietnam. My one brother and I, luckily we were at peacetime. My sister was in Desert Storm. She retired as an E9. She's now a PhD. Okay, so we're a very patriotic family. Okay, I was raised as a military kid, all over the world. So this is who we are. But what's interesting to me is that when I hear a lot of these voices calling themselves patriots, playing dress up, looking like Halloween, wearing that red, white, and blue stuff. Well, where did you serve? Air Force, Navy, Army, Marines, Coast Guard? Oh, I didn't serve. I see them all the time. We have these flags, the blue flags, kind of like defacing the flag, but with this blue flag and all this stuff, all this rhetoric of patriots. And well, why didn't you volunteer to serve your country? And so a lot of folks, even I feel for the Vietnam veteran, because it was like a bum deal, especially since we were really fighting on the wrong side from a historical perspective. But the politicians, they have their reasons, But the point is, if you were drafted and had to go, I mean, that doesn't make you an automatic patriot now in 2021. It doesn't mean you're not, but I mean, just calling yourself a patriot doesn't make you a patriot. Just because you got a flag outside your house don't make you a patriot. Just because you're driving around with a flag, on your truck doesn't make you a patriot. A patriot, truly, a patriot is your commitment to your nation, and your commitment to the people of your nation. That's what the flag represents. I mean, we can say the red is this and the blue is this and white is that, all that stuff. But the reality is every nation's flag represents that nation. You see the boxers when they go into the ring, they go to the Olympics and they win and they running around with the flag on their shoulders. It's because that flag represents their nation. And so then what does the flag represent? If it represents the nation, it represents all of the folks within that nation who are citizens of that nation. Okay? So that's what the flag represents. So if you take issue, if you don't respect the people of your nation, no matter what race they are, no matter what ethnicity they are, no matter what even their gender affiliation, I'm trying to find whatever things are pissing people off. But if these people are citizens of your nation, they are the ones that the flag is representing. So if you don't represent this, if you don't respect the citizens of your nation, you don't respect that flag. Okay, what I'm saying is, and see, what I'm suggesting is that black folks in this nation have fought in every war, even the Revolutionary War. The first person killed was a black man, Crispus Attucks, a runaway slave hiding out. First man killed. We fought the Spanish-American War. We fought the Revolutionary War. We fought in the Indian Wars, across it. We fought in World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, Middle East, everything. Every war, black folks have fought in. And so that's what a patriot is. First of all, that volunteering to fight for your nation. And secondly, you're not going to find black people in this nation simply dissing people and not respecting or reverencing people simply because of their cultural affiliation. If you're a citizen of this nation, see, black folks don't even have the luxury to do that because we're still trying to survive in this nation as citizens, okay? So what I'm suggesting is black people in this nation are intrinsically patriotic to this nation, especially when you consider the path from the inception of this nation to where black folks are today. We are the true patriots. Okay? We're not taking benefits on the backs of other groups of people in this nation. We are the patriots. Okay? So don't get, I've heard a lot of folks talk about World War II. Talk about the people in World War II. That was the greatest generation of this nation. And what I want to share with you is, I don't think so. Because you have a nation where we were fighting tyranny overseas. And then the black soldiers coming back to this nation after fighting overseas tyranny had to fight tyranny within this nation. No, all this nation was not the greatest generation in this nation. The black soldiers, they were the greatest of that generation because they fought tyranny overseas and they fought tyranny domestically when they came back home. The black soldiers were the greatest of that generation, which was not great. And so what I'm saying, so we've always been patriotic. So don't let folks who are not patriotic convince you that you're not patriotic. We are. We are. And so what I'm suggesting is that we just need to take that back. Because that flag is our flag. If folks want the Confederate flag, give it to them. Who cares? But the stars and stripes, that's our flag. Now the anthem, some of the words in the national anthem and the story that it tells is not really pro-black. But what's interesting is most folks, white or black or any other, don't even know the words to the national anthem. So you can feel the national anthem, recognizing you're a patriot, and embrace it as your own, not because of the words, but recognizing. When you recognize who you are today, and you are a patriot, you can embrace that anthem. As far as the Pledge of Allegiance, again, in order to truly embrace the Pledge of Allegiance, which you can, which I do, because I do pledge allegiance to that flag, but I recognize who the unpatriotic folks who are calling themselves patriots aren't really part of the positive part of this nation. So when I'm pledging allegiance to the flag, I'm pledging allegiance to the nation that it represents and the people who are well, the people who are true patriots. So even those who are not true patriots, they're still part of this nation, but just recognize them for what they are. And so I'm suggesting as well, from a patriotism perspective, you are patriotic. And even those folks calling themselves patriot, running around like it's Halloween in their little red, white, and blue outfits, flying their flags in the front yard or on their trucks and all, most of them are not patriots because they don't respect all American citizens. So they're American citizens too, but just realize what they're about is not what you're about. You are a true patriot. That flag is yours, not theirs. They can fly it if they want to. It doesn't matter. If they don't embrace all American citizens, they're not patriots. And another thing, we need to stop calling them supremacists, okay? Just criminals. Deluded. They're not look at them. You know when all this stuff got riled up for real? Was when Obama became president. That's when the Tea Party sprang up, right? Why? Because there was an intellectual black man who every day sat down and debated with people who were against him. I'm saying Democrats and Republicans, because he had to get the primary election from go through the primary before he went to the general election in both cases. And so this isn't political. Because remember when Obama won the primary against Hillary Clinton? While they were running, Hillary was making those little comments like, he's not electable. You know what she meant, right? A black man. And Bill Clinton even made that comment, in another place in time, he would have been fetching my lemonade, You get to see. These are Democrats, okay? And as if you recall, when Obama when he got the Democratic primary nomination, that many white Democrats became Republicans all of a sudden. What, you think their political ideology changed? No, the color skin of the representative was different. So we're looking at a very interesting evolution of thought in this nation as it pertains to politics. So some of the most vehement political voices aren't really responding to the purity of political ideology, but they're responding to the baser, racist, and ethnic-centered prejudices that seem to permeate, their hearts. And so what I just want to really impress is that we are patriots, black folks in this nation. So take that back. I saw, and I have to say ashamed because I don't remember where I was traveling to, but I went into one of these little gas stations, they were selling these American hats, the kind of battered looking hat with that flag on the front, and I wanted to get one, but I didn't. Because that other group sort of associates themselves with that hat and that flag. But after I left there, I thought, man, I should have gotten that hat. Because I am a patriot, a true patriot. I served my country. I don't have any ills with anyone in this nation. I don't even have ills with people who are not of my nation. Man, a true patriot sees the world in a better way. Man, when I went to school, to tech school, after I left boot camp, I went to school with Iranians. I went to school with Iraqis. I mean, you see the world in a better way. I think a true patriot recognizes the place or the space that their nation has in the world. And a true mature patriot recognizes that you don't want ill to befall your nation. Okay? So if you don't want ill to befall your nation, you don't have a heart to have ill fall against someone else's nation, okay? And so a true patriot then will strive to preserve the rights of other nations and be reciprocated in the preservation of their own nation. So a true patriot, recognizing the relationship that our nation has over this entire planet, and that no nation is an island in and of itself, that we have relationships with other nations. To be a true patriot, to be for what's best for your nation, you have to recognize the relationships that we have with the other nations on this planet. You can't go starting stuff. See, we have evil within every nation. We talked in another program, within every religion, but within every nation. And we have organizations within our nations whose sole responsibility is to protect our nation from enemies, both foreign and domestic. But when you get evil people, some people within those organizations, sometimes they go places that they shouldn't go, and it makes us all look bad. So we have to recognize that being a patriot isn't about flying a flag. Being a patriot isn't about proclaiming yourself as a patriot. Being a patriot is recognizing the responsibility that you have to your fellow citizens and the responsibility that you have to the citizens of other nations all over this planet. And starting wars for ill gain, manipulating and using people from other nations, that's not patriotism. And even from a historical perspective, because I love this nation. But in order to be a true patriot, you have to be critical of yourself. You have to be, it's sort of like being a family member. It is like being a family member. You have family members like fathers and mothers and children that will do wrong and just won't admit it. They don't really have loyalty to the family. They have loyalty to themselves. Now they'll be walking around proclaiming themselves by their last name, that they have this family strength and all this stuff. But they're not really for the family. They're for themselves. To be really for your family, when you make an error, say you made an error. To be really for your family, you're not going to exploit members of your family. To be really a family member, loyal to your family, you're not going to be molesting individuals within your family. You're not going to be abusing them. You're not going to be stealing from them. You're not going to kill them. You're not going to bear false witness against them. That's being a true, loyal family member. And it's the same responsibility as a patriot. We're going to mess up. We're going to make mistakes. Do not try to make those mistakes, but when you do fess up, that's what patriotism is. Be patriotic. And don't let other people convince you that they're patriotic when you're looking at how evil and how rotten they are and then determining you must not be because they are. They're not patriots. You are. Embrace that. Get yourself that hat with that flag on it. I'm going to. I don't want to be the only one. Let's take that back. When Colin Kaepernick took his knee, he was making a statement. He wasn't being disrespectful. He was being a patriot by taking that knee. To speak to his nation, to say there's something wrong. You have situations. I was watching this program the other day where this young girl was being molested by her father. And she's old now, but she's telling the story. She said her mother walked in on them while he was molesting her when she was 11. And the mother turned around and walked out. That's not patriotism. Patriotism is when you see something that's wrong, you speak out. So Colin Kaepernick, when he took that knee, he saw something wrong and he was speaking out. He wasn't violent, he was just speaking out, saying there is something wrong. When we are playing this music that represents our nation, I'm going to take a knee of reverence. And hopefully folks will begin to catch on that there's something wrong. That's a patriot. Colin Kaepernick was demonized. He was a patriot. You're going to find the self-proclaimed patriots, when you are really a patriot, you are like a mirror to them. And they have to face themselves for what they really are. So when you're looking in a mirror and you got something in your nose or your hair's messed up or something's going wrong, you got two choices. Either you can fix yourself or you can break the mirror. Most of those self-proclaimed patriots will simply break the mirror rather than face the truth of who they really are. So I'm giving you encouragement today. I'm saying take back the patriotism, take back the flag, take the anthem back, take the pledge back. Recognize it's not about them. It's about you. How's that? I'm saying we could dig ourselves out of the hole. Well, what I've been suggesting for the past couple of years now is as black people in this nation, man, we had a bad way to go. It wasn't right, it was unfair, and it still isn't. But what I'm suggesting is the only way it's going to be well, it's not going to be well by you telling people how unwell it is. The only way it's going to be well is for you to make it well yourself. I've tried to demonstrate this. I've tried to demonstrate with the evolution of physical evolution. I've showed you I've been exercising and working out, and I share with it, even to the chagrin of some people, probably maybe too much, but because I want to improve my body. Intellectually, 50 years old, I went to Sinclair, got my associate degree, my bachelor's degree, my MBA. Intellectually. Spiritually, I feel like I'm very spiritual, seeking to be more spiritual. Every aspect of your life. I'm a firm believer in being sober. Not cutting out the alcohol, cutting out the drugs and all that stuff will keep you sober-minded, so you'll have more ideas to improve yourself. Because what I'm suggesting today is that no matter how wrong people have been treated within a nation, you cannot expect those people who are benefiting from your oppression to have an incentive to help you be better. Okay? It may not be your reason why you're in this mess, or it might not be your fault why you're in this mess. But the only one that cares, the only one that's going to get you out, the only one who black lives really matter to are the black lives. It's your life. You got to take care of your business, and you can. Get yourself together. That's what I try to demonstrate. I put it on social media. I put it out here all the time. Is in every aspect of life, you can make your life better. See, you can be in a position that there is an oppressive hand. I'm not saying all police are like that, but many police are like that. But just one is enough to really screw up your day. Because you're talking about a man of authority, a man with a gun, a man who the courts are going to believe their word over your word, and so they can abuse you and get away with it. So what I'm suggesting is you could take yourself out of their sphere of influence. Man, don't have a bunch of... Man, I used to live at the point of losing my license because I had so many traffic tickets. Okay? Now, if a police officer runs my plate, there's no tickets on there at all for years and years. What I'm saying is, I don't drink. I don't get high. So nobody's going to catch me drinking or driving, okay? I don't run lights intentionally. Just don't do the things that will jam yourself up. Dig yourself out of that hole. I'm going to close with this. This old religious song about, I think this old goat, that fell down a well. And it was a farmer's favorite goat, the old farmer. And he was too old. He couldn't get that goat out. So he just decided that goat was just going to die, So he wanted to put it out of his misery, so he decided he was going to start shoveling dirt on top of that goat and just bury him alive so he'll at least die quick instead of lasted for a week or a week and a half or so. So that old farmer is shoveling, shovel after shovel in there. And what was interesting is every time he'd shovel dirt and throw it in on that old, I think it was a mule, not a goat. When he'd throw it in on that mule, the mule would just shake off the dirt and step on it. And he didn't know it. He was just shoveling it in there. Throw the dirt. The old mule would just shake off the dirt and step on it. Finally, after a couple of hours, that old mule had been shaking off the dirt and stepping on it. He stepped himself all the way up to the top of that well, and he just walked right down that well. So what I'm sharing with you today is you have to realize that the place that black folks have in this nation, they're shoveling that dirt on you. And they want to bury you. Man, they've been wanting to bury you for like 30 years. I remember 30 years ago when the statistics came out that eventually that white people in this nation were going to be the minority. I knew they were going to try something. They're going to do something. That's why they're so adamant about the border, keeping those brown people out of here. And that's why they're so adamant about killing black people or putting black people in prison, charging them with felonies, so they don't have the right to vote, in most states. Think about that. So why do you think it's so unfair, the sentences that are given to black people and the charges put on black people and the incarceration rate and all that? Because they know that there may be a large number of black people in this nation, but if you can cut off a large swath of their voting abilities, they can protect their position in this nation. So I'm just saying, just recognize what's going on here. Recognize that you love America, that you love you, and that the only one that is going to get you out of the mess you're in is you. And imagine that. The strong multitudes of black... You saw Stacey Abrams. Now, I'm not political. I don't care if she was a Republican or Democrat. This person saw something that she felt she had been done wrong, and she went out and signed up 800,000 people to vote, and it changed the whole election, okay? So what I see with that, what I see is our ability to look at a problem and recognize no one's going to give it to you just by protesting and complaining about it. She figured out a course of action, she implemented it, and she walked it out and was successful. Each of us need to do that for our own particular lives. Determine what exactly is wrong with your life. What exactly is uncomfortable, and don't simply acquiesce to, oh, well, this is just the way my life is going to be. Figure out a game plan. How am I going to get out of this? Man, that's what I did. I wanted to get a degree. I wanted to get an associate degree. I didn't know I was going to end up with an MBA. So what do I have to do? Well, first thing I got to do is I got to go to Sinclair. Got to go down there and find a counselor. I got to determine what I want to do. You know, and go to that counselor and ask the counselor, what do I do? And then she gave me a list of all the classes I needed to take to get an associate degree. and I just took each class based on her advice. Then I decided I wanted to keep going to school. I went to my sister, who at that point had a master's degree. I said, what do I do to get a bachelor's degree? She showed me all the classes that I needed to take. And so I took all the classes. Then after I got my bachelor's degree, I went back to my sister, who now was a PhD. And I said, what do I do to get my MBA? And she helped me and showed me all the things. So there was a way. You recognize what it is you want. Figure out a game plan. And just walk it out. You'll walk yourself right out of oppression. You'll walk yourself right out of the effect that the authorities can have on your life. And you'll be happy if we could each do this. Be patriots in America. Be successful. Man, this guy was telling me on Facebook, and he was a white guy, and he was really kind of harsh about the suffering of black people, and why don't black people do this, and look at him, and he was just ragging. I said, look, I said, black people came to this nation as slaves, enslaved people, treated terribly. Slavery. I mean, you're talking about torture. You're talking about forced labor, often till you died from working so hard. You're talking about rape of little girls and little boys, women and men. Don't think it was just women that were being raped. You know the perversion that we see in our society today. It was the most heinous life that anyone could have, to be a slave in America. You know, someone was telling me, you know, there were slaves in Africa too. You know, Africans enslaved Africans. Well, it was different. Those slaves were, the reason for slavery was they were captured prisoners of war. Others, it was the sentence from crimes that they had committed. They had a certain sense of servitude. And in Africa, African slaves worked right next to their master in the fields or wherever they worked. African slaves lived in the same home as their master. African slaves ate the same food as their master. So no, African slavery was nothing like the heinous treachery of the slavery here in Americas. And so to be a slave was a terrible thing. We know that. And you're talking about hundreds of years of slavery. We're talking about from 1619 up until emancipation, 1864s. And then we found there was terrible treatment, you know, lynchings, multitude of lynchings and still tortures. And there were laws after the slaves were emancipated. The loitering laws. That you couldn't be unemployed in a city. In many cities in the South, even where many of these slaves still were, you couldn't be unemployed. If you were unemployed, they'd throw you in prison. And so what you have, the owners of these shops, those that were hiring, would not hire the blacks, and then the police would just come in and throw them into prison. Then you'd have prison chain gangs. You'd have another name, just another type of slavery. So you're talking about you're talking about 1864 emancipation, but then treacherous lives that black folks were trying to eke out at that point. That's why many of them went out west. A third of the cowboys were black. The Lone Ranger was actually black. So it was a lot of heinous treatment. Harrying, prejudice, lynchings, just terrible. You know. So much so that the civil rights movement kicked off in the 1960s, which was 100 years after emancipation, just trying to get fair treatment. And you saw how all that went. So all the way up until today. So now we have this white guy on Facebook. He's just ragging on black people because of the lives that they're living, and how come they're not really taking advantage of what they could, and blah, blah, blah. I'm saying, look, man. I said, all of us today, most black people in America today are the descendants of slaves. And all white people in America, just about all white people in America, are not descendants of slaves. So just to be clear, during slavery, there were white people that worked next to the slaves in the cotton fields, in the tobacco fields. There were white people that were just as poor as the slaves. See, most white people didn't own slaves. You had to have money to own slaves. Most white people were poor, but they weren't slaves. And so now you have this many, 1864 emancipation, you have this many years later. Why are the descendants of those who were not slaves on the same economic level as those who were descendants of slaves? Who failed? Who failed in that race? To have such a tremendous lead and then to blow it. Okay? So what I'm doing in this program right now is just trying to give black people a different perspective of who we are. That we are the patriots. That we are the success stories. That, yeah, we have gotten a terrible shake and we got some issues today. But the only ones going to get us out of our issues are us. So look then at why we're in this positive economic condition from slavery compared to those who were the descendants of those who were not slaves. The people before us had to make choices to get us to the place where we are today. What I'm suggesting to black people is, let's not drop that baton, or let's pick up the baton that we've dropped. Because we're not here because of our own doing. We're here because of the sacrifices of black people, even those that were slaves, that risked death and execution by ensuring that your children could read. They made sacrifices. They suffered a lot just so we can be in a fairer place today than they were. Why are we acquiescing to smoking weed? Why are we acquiescing to getting drunk? Because it's Friday night. Why are we acquiescing to not taking advantage of the free public school and the educational opportunities that are before us? We've dropped. The war isn't over yet. We're not done. We're not there. We have everything going for us right now. See, one would have you to believe that black people, you're not patriots because we are. You're not superior because we are. Come on now. Look at our lives and the journey in this nation where we are today. We are the patriots. We are superior. We are strong. We are well. Every time black people put their minds to do anything in this nation, whether it's entertainment, whether it's sports, whether it's business, whether it's the presidency of the United States, Barack Obama, we always excel. But something has to motivate us. What I'm hoping to do right now is to motivate you to recognize that the sacrifices that were made before us, the batons that were passed before us, well, we're not there yet. We didn't reach that finish line yet. We're on the last leg of this race. All we have to do is pick up this baton and start running, and we're going to cross that finish line. And as well as we are now, considering the history that we have from slavery up until now, man, we're going to go across that finish line. We're going to cruise across that finish line. We just have to get motivated. We can't sabotage ourselves. You are the patriot. You are the strong one. You are the gifted one. You have the ability to do great things. But you have to make a choice. We have habits. We have things that we have hobbies and habits and things that are keeping us from running this race. The war isn't over yet. The race isn't over yet. We just have a little bit more ways to go. And that's my job here every week, is to motivate you. I'm motivating you on health. I'm motivating you on education. I'm motivating you on finances. Man, you stop getting that buzz of any kind. You stop going out, causes Friday night. You start spending that buzz money on healthier foods, and you stop buying unhealthy foods. Your life is going to change. You're going to think clearer. You're going to be well. You're going to go to work, and you're not going to be trying to get off work. You're not going to be calling in sick. You're not going to be not doing your job. You're going to be the one they're going to look at that's always doing a good job, always working hard. You're the one who's going to set yourself up promotion right past those people who've been your detractors. How's that? I know I said a mouthful. I hope I didn't get too excited. I determined before I even started this program, okay, we're going to stay calm. We're just going to talk this thing through. I think I'm going to get there one day. But I do get so excited about this because we could be so much more, man. Man, as many of you know, when I turned 63 a couple of weeks ago in November 2021, about a couple days, about 4 days before I turned 63, I became a certified diver. And I'm just saying that is because, I did my education, the associate, bachelor's, and MBA. But then there's something more. And just about a week and a half ago, I've written about 8 ebooks. They're online. You can see them at Amazon. But for the first time, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I published my first paperback. And it comes in hardback as well. The point is, just there's so much that we can do, but we settle for less. I remember this preacher once said, he said, if more is available, don't settle for less. And that's what I'm going to leave you with. I do want to thank you once again for joining me and listening. And I want to invite you to listen again. You take care. Bye.